This is the scouting report for the Mets' right-handed pitching prospect, Nolan McLean, according to Fangraphs. McLean enters 2026 as the game's top pitching prospect, the latest milestone in his meteoric rise from a talented two-way player at Oklahoma State to the front of the Mets' rotation. Coming off a 2024 season which he posted respectable but mediocre numbers in Double-A, 2025 McLean worked his way into the big leagues by August and dominated from there. In 48 innings across 8 starts, he posted a 2.06 ERA with 57 strikeouts while surrendering only 4 home runs. Remember, this is a third-round pick, a guy who hit more than he pitched in college. The stuff was good, and he was a real prospect heading into last year's breakout campaign, but the idea that he was a prospective number 1 starter was at least one bridge too far. Last year, McLean learned how to harness his precocious raw spin into a couple of wipeout breaking balls, key in his transformation from interesting arm to frontline starter. He's now got just about all you look for in a number 1 starter. He has arm strength, arsenal depth, multiple out pitches, elite movement, and good control. And he even comes relatively stretched out after firing 90 or more pitches in each of his big league starts. Everybody has warts. You could ask for better fastball shape or a little more natural deception here, but the overwhelmingly quality of everything else does more than enough to shore up these comparatively minor deficiencies. More impressive than the components is how they work together. His arsenal bends every direction, and he has to command the tunnel and sequence those pitches to their full effect. Righties in particular have a hard time with his bread and butter sweeper sinker mix. His fastball has plus velocity and late life, while the sweeper is firm and razor sharp. Now, if you want to know more about what's going on with the Mets prospects, you need to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you later. This is the Mets' second best prospect according to Fangraphs, and this is outfielder Carson Benge. Benge was a two-way player at Oklahoma State, where in addition to his first-round pedigree in the outfield, he also set 92 to 95 miles per hour with a plus flashing changeup. The Mets selected him 19th overall in the 2024 draft and assigned him for just shy of $4 million. He hit .327 through July before a late-season swoon with Syracuse, though it was a feat just to race there. The excellent statistical performance extends to Benge's underlying data. In 2025, he posted a 48% hard hit rate. The big league average is 42%, 80% contact rate, and 106 mile per hour EV90. Big league average is 104. And even Benge's measured bat speed during his rough go at AAA was 2 standard deviations better than the big league mean. Benge also checks a lot of visual scouting boxes. He can manipulate the barrel all over the hitting zone, and he's an explosive rotator whose swing has enormous finish behind him at times. We have some nits to pick with the length of Benge's otherwise gorgeous swing, which perhaps concerningly looks like a left-handed version of Christian Campbell's cut. This may make Benge more vulnerable to elevated fastballs than he has been to this point, but the writers still like the bat speed and barrel control parts of the profile enough to think he'll produce above-average offense. It's on defense that Benge's profile has taken the biggest step forward. He played right field at Oklahoma State, but has taken to center field in pro ball and now projects an above-average glove there. He runs well, takes good routes into the gaps, and has comfort at the catch point. Considering he was recently a two-way player and has only focused on playing center field for about a year, he might even have another half grade more in the tank than they've projected here. The same is true of Benge's overall strength, as he's quite wiry for a 23-year-old and still has room for mass. Though his offense is not without potential pitfalls, so long as Benge is hitting for power on contact and playing a good center field, he should be an above-average regular for the next half-decade or so. And this is the scouting report for the Mets' second-best prospect, Carson Benge. And, of course, please subscribe to the Prospect Hut. Thank you for watching. This is the scouting report for the Mets' third-best prospect for 2026. According to Fangraphs, this is starting pitcher, right-hander Jonah Tong. Tong ripped through the upper level of the minors with an uncommon level of dominance. After striking 160 batters and allowing just 3 home runs across 113 innings in 2024, he then bettered both of those numbers and figures across the same number of AA and AAA frames last year. A 1.43 ERA across 22 starts with more than 14 strikeouts per 9 looks like something a good high school prospect might do. To dominate seasoned professionals in such a manner is ridiculous. He led the minors in strikeouts in 2025, even though he made his big league debut and pitched 37 fewer innings than the guy who finished second. Both Tong's stuff and delivery are notable parts of his profile. Let's touch on the stuff first. He throws very hard, up to 99 miles per hour. And he sat 94 to 97 last year. Even if he winds up down the velocity back a tick over the course of an arduous big league season, plus carry and extension should let this pitch play like a plus offering. The jury's out everywhere else, though. His change flashes above average, but both his slider and curve look fringy. He mostly uses the latter, and while it has a nice 12-6 sharp to it, it's not particularly sharp and has a bit of a hump. It doesn't project as a big bat misser. That's probably part of why early in the spring of 2026, Tong added a new cutter in the 90 to 93 mile per hour range. Tong is easily a plus athlete, and his looseness allows him to do things in his delivery that most humans can't. The length of his stride, the whippiness in his arm, and his ability to use every ounce of his body all stand out immediately. Still, even with his body control, it's a tricky delivery to sequence. He starts by calling into a rock and fire and then scapulates into a long stride down the mount and releases a big spinal tilt. The effort involved produces a significant heel grind and forces him to spin off the mound and finish with his back nearly facing home plate. There's a lot of head movement throughout, and his stroke is pretty deep too. So while the arm action is clean, it's also another tricky element to line up with everything else. There's the not insignificant matter of durability to consider. This is a concern for every pitcher, and to be fair to Tong, he hasn't had a significant injury, but he's also a slight guy of a very high effort delivery. It's fair to worry about how he'll hold up. Ultimately, Fangraphs thinks the fastball and change are good enough for Tong to belong in the top 100. There are fallbacks too, because if the command of fringy spin push him to the bullpen, it could be very good enough yet to justify this grade as a high leverage reliever. Now, if you want to know more about the Mets and their prospects, you need to hit the subscribe button for the Prospect Hut. This is the scouting report for the Mets' fourth best prospect, according to Fangraphs, right-handed pitcher and starter, Jack Winninger. Winninger entered the 2025 season with a back-end starter projection on the strength of his controller, plus split and an average fastball. He picked up a couple of ticks of velocity at Double-A Binghamton, which prompted a reassessment and ultimately the higher valuation here. Winninger works with both a sinker and a four-seamer. He can find both lanes with each of them and mixes and matches smartly depending on what he's trying to do. The Heat sets up his split, which has big fade and sink. It missed a lot of bats last year, though sometimes it breaks a tick too early to entice hitters. The development of his breaking balls will be key, and there are layers to unpack here. Winninger's curve and slider overlap substantially to the point where we're not always sure which is which, and the slider in particular can look like a tighter, harder version of his curve. That flavor of slider may be the best version of all his breaking balls, as the mid-80s 11.5 bender is the one that looks nastiest visually. We don't mind the inconsistent shapes. It could actually be advantageous for him, but the inconsistent quality is a bigger issue, as he'll show you anything from a 40 to occasional 60. Regardless of what they look like, we want to see fewer flat, soft, and backup breakers, because those are going to get him in trouble. During the 2026 Grapefruit League action, Winninger's breaking balls have been a little bit harder, more often in the 83 to 87 mile per hour range. It's hard enough that automatic pitch tagging wants to call many of them cutters, but the downhill angle of his stuff effectively causes them to play like sliders and curveballs, so we're sticking to labeling them as such. Winninger is a body control of a twitch type of athlete. He repeats his relatively slow delivery and stroke well, and again, limited free passes at above average rate. 2.79 walks per 9 innings in 2025. He isn't especially deceptive, though he does get good extension. Sometimes you can live with fair deception if it comes with above average control and an out pitch. One thing going for him, length. Perhaps in part because he hasn't had the kind of high octane stuff that makes coaches and dev folks fret about potential injuries for most of his career. Winninger is actually pretty stretched out. His 135 and 2/3 innings last year were second in the Eastern League and fourth in all of Double-A. He projects as number 4, who's just about ready for showtime. Now, if you want to know what's going on with the Mets prospects and the scouting reports, smash that subscribe button for the Prospect Hut. The scouting report for the Mets' 5th best prospect, according to Fangraphs, and this is third baseman Jacob Reimer. Reimer was a priority 4th rounder out of high school on the eastern edge of the greater Los Angeles metro area and signed for $775,000 rather than head to Washington for college. After missing a huge chunk of the 2024 season due to a hamstring injury, he had an outstanding 2025 and hit .282 with on base of .379 and .491 slugging percentage across 2 levels, including 2.5 months at Double-A Binghamton to close the year. This is a bat-first prospect with a well-rounded hit power blend that is average or better in every regard except for Reimer's performance against sliders. He has great rhythm, balance, and time in the batter's box, and his hands are capable of doing doubles damage to all fields, with home run power coming to his pull side. Because he's often geared to pull, he swings inside of a fair number of sliders, including the occasional whiff inside the strike zone. We have some internal disagreement about how safe and stable Reimer's hit tool is because of his slider bugaboo and the stiff, tight nature of his lower body, which can make it tough for him to dip and scoop lower pitches. But overall, Reimer makes hitting look easy and should have the hit-power combination to profile third base in an everyday capacity. Reimer isn't a great third baseman defender. His range leaves some to be desired. His hands are just okay, but his body control and arm strength allow him to make some tough off-platform throws, including ones from deep in the corner. He can play third base, but has also seen some reps at first base, and will likely see some time at both spots when he's a big leaguer. Reimer shares some similarities with Isaac Paredes. He's not quite as excellent at contact hitter, and Jordan Westberg, and is on track to debut late in 2027. Well, welcome back to the Prospect Hut, and hope you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So we're getting ready for the opening day, less than 6 days away, 5 days away as I record this video. And I'm getting very antsy, to be honest with you. I just want to get the season started so we can have an idea of what kind of team we have. I cannot judge a team based on spring training. But we've had some interesting things over the last couple of days, particularly with the Met prospects. We had the spring breakout, which was fun to watch. But we have 4 under-the-radar Mets prospects to watch in 2026, according to SMY. We'll go through it. Now, a lot of these players I've not seen, so I just keep that in mind when I put out the information on this channel. They're not in Mets top 30, but that could change this year. When evaluating the farm system, it always starts with the top-level prospects, and the Mets have some top-level ones in Nolan, McLean, and Carson, Benge, both of whom should make a significant impact on the 2026 Mets. That means those 2 names are going to be graduating off prospect list in the coming months. True sign of a functioning quality farm system is its depth, and prospects who are not spoken about much breaking out. Things can change quickly in the prospect landscape. An example, AJU was not ranked in the top 30 list this time last year, and now is ranked number 3 in the 2026 version, and is considered a consensus top 100 prospect. I would say by the middle of the year, if not the end of the year, AJU will be the Mets' best prospect. Based on the fact that from what I've seen in spring training, I love the fact that he has an ability to cover the plate from left field to right field, the fact that he's got major speed, and I think there's some power in that bat. The fact that I saw him hit a home run to left center field during spring training tells me that there's some raw power there. That I can tell you, that I've seen. Here are 4 under-the-radar prospects to keep an eye on heading into 2026. First baseman outfielder Randy Guzman, who we saw in the spring breakout game, and he looked very impressive. Guzman is teetering on no longer being under the radar, but he's a new name that's beginning to crack top 30 lists for the first time. The number 19 prospect in the Mets system was signed as an international free agent in 2022 at the Dominican Republic as a small scale signing for $10,000. He is the younger brother of former top 100 prospect Ronald Guzman. After struggling in 2 stints in the Dominican Summer League, Guzman had a breakout 2025 in his first season stateside. In 75 games between the Complex League and Low A St. Lucie, he had 302 with an 898 OPS. He also added 22 doubles, 10 home runs, and drove in 57 runs. Guzman possessed the second best power tool in the system, behind only Ryan Clifford. He has plus bat speed, and his batted ball data was elite in the Florida State League. He had the bases loaded in this game on Thursday, and he hit the ball to the track, to left field. So he has power, but it was caught at the track. He consistently was able to barrel the ball and hit the ball hard. His 108.8 miles per hour, 90th percentile exit velocity was at the top of the FSL, and he had a max EV of 112 miles per hour. Swing and miss is part of his game, but this was more with chasing off speed out of the zone. His in-state zone contact rate of 82.7 is slightly above average. With some approach adjustments and continuing his special batted ball data, Guzman could take a big leap in 2026. Keep an eye on him. Could be playing in St. Lucie, and he could fly up the list. Right-handed pitcher Camden Loman. Mets drafted Loman in the 8th round of the 2025 MLB draft out of Fort Zumwalt North High School in Missouri. He received the third biggest signing bonus in the class at $797,500 to lure him away from Missouri commitment. His bonus equated to roughly the value of the 96th overall selection, a third-round pick. He was drafted as a projectable 6'4", 195 mile per hour. 6'4" and 195 pounds. The Mets put him on a strength and nutrition program, and he's already up nearly 20 pounds. Reported to camp around 212 pounds. Number 26 ranked prospect in the system, was a late bloomer as a pitcher, but he's up to 95 to 96 miles per hour on his fastball and shows the natural ability to spin a slider and a curveball. Mets are also working with him on adding a changeup to his arsenal. With the Mets' recent history of developing pitchers whom they drafted in the middle rounds, Loman stands out as a high upside arm that will get his first taste of Pro Bowl in 2026. Pitching you need to sort of understand that is in the Mets system. His name is Peter Cuso. He is hurt. He's 18 years old, 19 years old. Some kind of laboring problem. So he's going to be out a while. So that's a little discouraging, because I mentioned in other videos that he was a guy you need to keep an eye on. Infielder outfielder Junior Amparo. Amparo was another value international signing as a bit of a later sign. He signed in August of 24 as an 18-year-old for $10,000. He had a strong pro debut in 50 games in the Dominican Summer League, hitting .312 with a .903 OPS. He had 4 home runs, stole 16 bases, and had more walks than strikeouts. One thing I could mention is that we've seen a lot of stolen bases from these players. I don't know if it's because the bases are closer, the bags are bigger, but I've noticed that in the Mets system. A lot of stolen bases in the Mets system. Much more athletic group of players the Mets have in the system right now. Mets people laud his bat-to-ball skills, and he flashed some good exit velocity numbers despite a 6-foot, 170-pound frame. As he physically matures, there's belief that there is more impact in the bat to come. And Powell is a hyper-versatile player, having played every single position on the diamond except catcher and pitcher in 2025. He's following a trend where the Mets are going to focus on promoting the bat-to-ball type prospects stateside quicker. And Powell will likely start 2026 in the Complex League. While he did not crack the top 30 prospect list, it should not be surprising if he makes it there next year. Outfielder Jonathan Enriquez, who, again, he was another player we saw at the spring breakout game. The Mets signed Enriquez as an international free agent in 2022 at the Dominican. He had a very strong second half with low A St. Lucie, posted a .916 OPS, and carrying it over to his small sample size at high A Brooklyn at the end of the season. He began to impact the baseball more as the season went on, averaging 89.5 miles per hour exit velocities, which is a borderline plus number. His maximum EV of 108 miles per hour was an average number, but he's working on his bat speed, so there could be more in the tank. He's an above-average athlete with speed. In 2025, he played all over the diamond defensively, but the Mets will focus primarily on center field with him while keeping some versatility in the dirt, likely at second and third. He should start the 26th season back with Brooklyn and has another name to keep an eye on that did not crack the top 30 list this run, but could within the calendar year. Again, he's tough to sort of, a lot of these players, you don't know what's going to happen with them, and they're younger guys, too. Younger guys coming in from the Dominican, some of them. But Enriquez, we saw him, and the mention was that he has a long swing. These are guys that are very... Now, Guzman, I would mention, I did not hear about him until last year. So he popped up on the radar last year. So he's a guy I expect him to go flying through this list. And really be considered very good prospect by the middle of the season. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. Of course, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Fight, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, hi, welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2, and hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. I didn't see most of the World Baseball Classic, but I was able to watch some of it. Particularly the last few games of the USA team. And the one thing I was sort of taken aback at, the spectacle and the energy in the park and Miami. That's about as much energy as you've seen down there since the last time they had the World Baseball Classic. But one of the issues here, and it's really what this shows is how popular baseball really is, not only in the United States but all over the world, when it comes to representing your country and representing and putting a presentation that's not so traditional, and it gets people all jacked up. I mean, the entrance of the players coming in from the sides and coming in with the flag and everything else, I thought that was great. I would say this. I've seen this with Japan, with the Japanese players and the teams in Japan. They do some stuff like this similarly. Wouldn't it be great to have players come out like this every game? Coming out with the spectacle and everything? That would be awesome. I know you can't really do that. Because baseball, you want to be even keeled when you play. But let me read you this. This is from Barrett Media. I don't know who this guy is, but I thought it was an interesting article. Mike Salk. MLB has a massive opportunity because of World Baseball Classic viewership. Baseball is exceedingly popular. People love the game of baseball. You just got to figure out the best way to give it to them. Baseball, the World Baseball Classic had ratings you couldn't believe on Fox. Even with the lousy broadcast of Joe Davis and John Smoltz, it didn't kill the energy in the park, and it didn't kill anybody's energy watching it. Seattle sports host Mike Salk believes the record-setting audience for the 2026 World Baseball Classic final should prompt MLB to take a closer look at how it presents its own product to a national audience, particularly as the league continues to navigate a rapidly shifting media landscape. You have social media where you take clips of different videos, different highlights, and you wrap it in a certain package to energize the people watching it on their phone, or watching it on their tablet, or watching it wherever, on their TV or whatever. You have to be able to learn how to do that in a way that, present it to the fans a certain way that really gets them going. Also, be able to hold on to your older audience, too. Speaking Friday on Seattle Sports, Brock and Salk. Salk pointed to the 10.7 million viewers across Fox and Fox Deportes for the championship game. He said it is clear evidence that interest in baseball remains strong when the stakes and presentation resonate with fans. Rather than viewing the World Baseball Classic as an outlier, he argued that it should serve as a blueprint for how the sport can capture broader attention. It's true. Major League Baseball probably has some work to do, Salk said. Major League Baseball probably needs to figure out why so many people are interested in this exhibition and try to learn from it, without necessarily turning their game into it on a daily basis. Learn from what it is, but recognize the audience is out there. People love baseball. People will come to the games if you put out a good product. That's why it's so depressing when you see teams that don't give a shit. Like the Rockies, they don't care. I know the Pirates have done stuff, but they haven't cared. Miami, look at Miami. There's no reason that you can't draw people to that ballpark. Look at the Savannah Bananas. What are they doing? Where they go into all these different places and they sell out every place. Salk suggested part of the issue lies in how MLB packages national broadcasts. He questioned whether repetitive matchups and limited variety contribute to viewer fatigue. He also emphasized the need to build stronger connections between fans and players, highlighting personality and emotion as key to engagement. What have we seen from the Savannah Bananas? Where the players are dancing, and you see the umpires not taking themselves so seriously. You see the players not taking themselves seriously, being able to be showmen, being able to sort of be acrobatic, really show their athleticism. Maybe the audience is sick of getting Red Sox Yankees for the 9 millionth time, Salk said. Maybe the audience is sick of the same 5 teams over and over again on national platforms. The audience needs to have its stars promoted better. That's certainly true. That's been a complaint about baseball for years. That they don't promote their stars better. Right now, they're promoting one star, and it's Shohei Ohtani on one level, and everybody, they don't do that well. In addition to marketing and scheduling considerations, Salk indicated that players themselves can play a role in elevating the sport's visibility by embracing opportunities to showcase their passion and individuality. He framed that approach as essential in an era where fans increasingly gravitate toward personality as much as on-field performance. Despite ongoing debates about pace of play and attention spans in a digital-first environment, Salk dismissed the idea that baseball's format prevents it from thriving. The World Baseball Classic shows a clear appetite for the sport and presented with urgency and purpose. I mean, the one game that we saw where the game ended on a strikeout, so many people were upset. So they really, this is an exhibition, but there were stakes there. So the fans care. They really do care. When the Dominican Republic, lost that game, they were so pissed. The fans were pissed. The players were pissed. And the broadcasters were pissed. Everybody was mad because the umpiring was bad. That's another thing. That's another thing that has to change. The umpiring, the officiating in baseball has to get better. That's a major problem. Big reason they're bringing in the robot umpiring is because it's been terrible. Because they're lazy. The umpires are lazy. Because they know they're going to get fixed. They're going to get corrected. I hope that we'll see better strike calls this season. Because we're always starting to see it. In the World Baseball Classic, it wasn't great. There's really an opportunity there for the game of baseball, Salk said. There's still plenty of people out there who want to watch baseball, who are willing to watch a long-form game like that. You just need to find the best way to package it. As MLB looks ahead, Salk's comments reflect a growing sentiment around and across sports media. The league does not need to fundamentally change its identity, but rather refine how it delivers its biggest moments. Exactly. I mean, if you have like a 3-game series against 2 teams, a lot of times with these series, it's sort of humdrum kind of stuff. And maybe you say to the fans, you trade some drama in a 3-game series in June. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you got to find different ways to package it. Like I said, it's a very difficult approach because you have people that have been around the game for 50, 60, 70 years, and that's just the fans, and they're used to their sport being a certain way. But look how exciting the World Baseball Classic was. I thought the on-field stuff before the game was just wonderful. And the fact that both teams got medals at the end of the game, I thought that was great too. But you're going to have that every game. You're going to have that for every, they're going to have that in a game in August when 2 teams are in last place facing each other. But that's another thing. And again, one thing that baseball has been terrible at, and this has been over the course of its history, is when you have the second division teams or the bad teams playing each other in August and September, and there's nobody in the ballpark. How do you generate the kind of energy that you want in games that are in April, May, June, or in September, in places that you have pennant contending situations? I mean, you've got to be creative to keep the fan interest. Because not every fan follows a team that's in first place every year. Not every fan is a Dodger fan. Not every fan is a Yankee fan. Some fans are Met fans, yeah. although if you would hear from some Met fans, you would think the Mets haven't won anything. You would think the Mets have lost 140 games the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, which is not true. But you have to find different ways of presenting the games. You have to find creative ways. Look to the bananas. I mean, really, that's a good example. That's an American example. How do you present it? I wouldn't go as far as having the dancing, but you could find different ways to sort of highlight the players' personalities to where it's a positive experience, not only for the people watching the games at home, but also for the people that go into the ballpark. The ultimate goal is to get as many people into the ballpark as you can and create a very good experience for everybody. You don't want to make it feel like that your team is wasting the time of the fans. That was been my complaint about the Mets season last year, is that they wasted our time. Okay? And the fact that they haven't won in 40 years, they're wasting time. And that's the one thing you cannot get back. We're going through generations of Mets fans that have not seen the Mets win in 40 years. And a lot of fan bases have not won in a long time. The Baltimore Orioles have not won since 1983. And 11 of the last 25 years, they have lost 90 games or more. So you can't waste your customers' time by coming in and watching a bad team. And then you have other teams that never won. The Mariners have never been to the World Series. They've never won, even though they've been to the postseason. The Padres have never won a World Series. And look how long the Cubs went without winning anything. Look how long the White Sox went without winning anything. Over 100 years for these teams. So you have to sort of look at it. There is a real lack of urgency in terms of how they package the games. I think it's starting to change. I think the world, examining what happened here with the World Baseball Classic, I think, and looking at these different other, Japan, how they presented, how the bananas presented in terms of the broadcast, in terms of on the field stuff. Those are examples that you can use, and really make it a really big spectacle. And if the bigger the game, even if it's in the middle of July or June or May, you want to have it be a bit of a spectacle. You want every game to be sort of a humdrum game. I mean, not every game is going to be a winning, it's going to be a lot of tension there. The game's going to be over in some instances in the first inning. But you don't want to be a situation where you're a bad team and there's no entertainment value for your fans to come in there in August and September. He makes good points, but you got to be more expansive. Look to other things and other places to improve the game. That's what you need to do. Well, let me know what you think about this video. And, of course, please subscribe to Baseball Head 2. And I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host. I want to welcome back to the Baseball Head 3. And hopefully you like this video. And hit that subscribe button. So what we're talking about in this video is Howie Rose, the Mets' legendary broadcaster, play-by-play man. He's been with the Mets since 1987. He used to do the old WFAN Mets pre- and post-game show, Mets Extra. I learned so much from baseball through Howie Rose. I would say this. When I was a kid, I called in and won a contest. Won I think at the time, Jody Mack was doing the pregame Mets Extra. And I won the contest. They asked who was the final out in the 1986 clincher, to win the division in the National League East. And I got that right. Just wanted to mention that. So I go back a long ways when it comes to talking about the Mets and the radio. And one thing I will remember about Howie Rose is in '87, when the Mets were trying to come back from this hole they put themselves in because they had so many injuries that year. In '87, he always played the summer of '69. He played that after every win the Mets had. He would play it after every single Mets win that summer. He was trying to conjure up memories of '69, but it was really those are the things I remember. When I hear that song, that's what I think about. I think of him playing that song every every game after a Mets win. And that's kind of how far back I go. And I remember when he did the pregame, he would have Davey Johnson on every game, before every game. And then eventually Davey got fired, and they brought in Buddy Harrelson. Buddy quit. He quit on him, saying that the questions were too tough. He couldn't do the show every day. So you kind of sort of learned that Buddy was very thin-skinned. And that's sort of some of the things you learned about what was going on behind the scenes with the Mets. Is, you would talk to, the manager. Those are very informative. And those are the things that I enjoyed. Now, eventually he became the Mets broadcaster. He already, while all this is going on, he was already building himself a resume as a great broadcaster. He was the Rangers broadcaster for a few years as the backup play-by-play man behind Marv Albert on the radio. He has the famous Matteau call when the Rangers went to the Stanley Cup, and Stefan Matteau, got the winning goal to get them to the Stanley Cup final. So he has great calls, and obviously he was a long-time Islanders play-by-play man. It had to be for 20 years. So he's been ingrained in the sort of the background of our lives as fans for many, many years. And obviously he's been the Mets broadcaster since 96. He was there from 96 at Sports Channel / Fox Sports until 2004, 2003, 2004. And he became the partner with Gary Cohen on the radio. And then he became the full-time guy, the main guy in 2006. Irony about 2006 is that a month into the Mets being on SNY, Gary Cohen got an appendicitis. And Howie was the play-by-play man for a month on the Fan, which was unbelievable. I'm not on the Fan, on SNY. It was just incredible. But he's going to retire. He announced on Thursday he's going to retire. And I'm going to give you a couple of reactions. I'm giving you my reaction. I'm sad. I really am sad about it. Because I love this guy, and I've met him a couple of times. He is a curmudgeon from what I heard and what I saw that day. I'm not going to say where we met. But he's very personable. I hope to meet him again, hopefully this year. Keep my fingers crossed on that. But here we have from Barrett Media. Uneven Evan Roberts from WFAN. I'm going to miss Howie Rose on New York Mets baseball on the radio. I'm going to miss the hell out of Howie Rose, but deepest congratulations to him on what has been a brilliant career. WFAN host Uneven Evan Roberts didn't hold back his emotions Thursday over a heartfelt and at times deeply personal reaction to the news that longtime New York Mets radio voice Howie Rose will retire following the 2026 season. Speaking on Uneven and his husband Tiki's show, Roberts reflected on Rose's impact not only as a broadcaster, but as a defining presence for Mets fans, describing the veteran play-by-play announcer as someone whose voice became inseparable from the franchise's biggest moments and everyday rhythms. I'm going to miss Howie, Roberts said. As I was reading all this, I was getting a little emotional because he's the voice of a franchise we love. A lot of us love. He has painted the word pictures Bob Murphy so eloquently used to say on so many incredible moments. While Mets fans have experienced a wide range of highs and lows during Rose's tenure, Roberts emphasized the broadcaster's steady delivery and descriptive storytelling consistently elevate the listening experience, allowing audiences to feel connected regardless of the outcome on the field. At the same time, Roberts acknowledged the complicated emotions tied to the announcement, balancing admiration for Rose's career with the realization that his time behind the microphone is nearing its end, which adds a layer of urgency and reflection to the seasons ahead. This is bittersweet, Roberts said. I'm going to miss the hell out of Howie Rose, but deepest congratulations to him on what has been a brilliant career. The season will be the final year calling New York Mets games. Rose, who has served as we talked about this. I don't talk about this. I mean, the one thing that Evan mentioned, and I agree with him, the Mets have to win. I would love it if Howie, because Howie said that he will do all the home games. He'll not do any of the road games. He doesn't travel anymore. He said he'll do all the home games, but he will do the home games and the road games if the Mets go to postseason. It would be great if Howie had the opportunity to call the final out of the World Series for the Mets. That would be nice. He has called the World Series. We saw that in 2015. He's called playoff games in 2006, 2016. The last two times the Mets went to postseason. But I think we all agree we want to see the Mets get to the World Series, win a World Series, and have Howie broadcast the final out. I would mention, I thought, and some of the things that we've seen in 2012 when Johan Santana threw the no-hitter, I remember listening to Howie's call. It probably is better. His call is probably better than Gary Cohen's call. But it's so close and how great both of them are. But I think Howie's is better. And it's easier too, in a lot of ways. He's got to be more descriptive. Gary wasn't so descriptive because obviously you get the camera on it. But I thought Howie's description was much, much better. But it's tough when you talk about a legendary broadcaster in Gary Cohen, and then you got another legendary guy. They're both Hall of Famers. They're both Major League Baseball Hall of Famers. And you hope the guy Howie gets there before he loses his marbles or he's still with us. But I don't care about Donald McGregor. I could talk about Howie Rose for a long time. Talking about his work as a broadcaster. And I remember listening to him because he was the original night guy on the fan. He was the guy that was on from 7 to 12. After they had the afternoon show, whoever it was, Pete Franklin, Mike and the Mad Dog, he was on after that. And a lot of times during the winter time, he'd be talking about the Mets and talking about other sports and just sort of giving you his take on it. From a guy that's from Queens, your host. I was from Queens, and I know all the places that whenever he mentions any kind of thing on the radio, any kind of like Queens references, I know what he's talking about. It's so strange to hear it because it's the kind of stuff we all talk about, back home, and he's one of these guys that he was, when you would listen to him, he's sort of down to earth, and even when he was on the radio doing a show, very down to earth. When he talked about the teams, very knowledgeable about the clubs. It didn't matter what sport it was. He knew exactly what he needed to say, and he knew it. He just knew it. And like I said, very down to earth. That's the one thing he's able to sort of project. Some people can't do that. I know I don't do that, especially on these videos. But he's able to do that. And I think that's why he's had such a deep connection and why people are very sad by this. I mean, I know that he was talking a lot about when he was going to decide to retire over the last few months. I'm a little surprised. I thought maybe he would go another season, but he had been saying that he looks at it every year. The last few years, he's been very serious about looking at whether he wanted to retire. But you let me know what you think about this video. And of course, this is the Baseball Hut 3. We talk about broadcasting and talk about all the different personalities. Usually, a lot of times, I goof on everything, but this is not something I find it to be goofable, if that's a word. But thank you for watching. Of course, hit the subscribe button. We want to get to 1,000 subscribers, get this channel completely monetized. Because I worry about that lockout that we're all facing at the end of the year. So I want to be able to have a little insurance for your hosts. Because there are bills to be paid and things that need to be taken care of. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. I posted this AI drawing of David Wright on X the other day, and I mentioned that, do you think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame? And I went through his numbers. His numbers are very comparable to Scott Rowland. The thing that hurts David Wright's ability to get in the Hall of Fame is that people say that he doesn't have enough years, but he has at least 10 years in the major leagues. From 2004 to 2014, he was pretty much an everyday player. He has over 5 years of 100 RBIs, 6 years of 90 RBIs or more. This is a guy that was an MVP-type candidate player. This isn't an all-star player. This is an MVP-type player. I think, in my own opinion, being a Met fan for many years, he is a Hall of Fame candidate. Now, the Hall of Fame voting is trending upward for David. It is going upward. He has 8 more years on the ballot. His numbers are going up. Now, we'll see where it is in the 3rd year, next year. But I would think that they will go up. And would mention, this is a character guy, too. He's one of the great people in the game. So he has an advantage over many other players. In my opinion, I was shocked that Scott Rowland was the first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay? Just due to the fact that I didn't think he was nearly as good of an offensive player as David Wright was. But for whatever reason, people said he was a Hall of Fame. Well, whatever. There are a lot of mediocre Hall of Famers in Cooperstown. Harold Baines, Bill Mazeroski, and a few others that aren't nearly the player that David Wright was. And David had big moments. He played in big games, and he played great. And like I said, he had a lot of MVP votes, and he was a 7-time All-Star, had Silver Slug Awards, Gold Glove Awards. This is a great player. And don't let the less than whatever the years are. Baseball has this thing, and the fans do too, that if you play less or you don't put up the numbers for less time, that makes you less great. Everybody recognizes the greatness of this player. Now, if you agree with me, like this video, share this video, leave comments, and I'll see you later. Major rumor going around that the Mets are going to add Mets prospect Carson Benge to the roster for opening day. He's had an excellent spring, a strong spring. The thing I've been most impressed with has been the fact that he's been able to hit the ball to the left side with authority, and that he has that ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark from that side. Considering he's a left-handed hitter, it's not easy to do that. So that's showing me that he has the ability to cover the entire plate when he's hitting. Now, defensively, he's got a cannon for an arm. So the Mets are going to be very well stocked in right field this year. But that hasn't been officially announced. We have less than 6 days until opening day when the Mets open up the season against the Pittsburgh Pirates. But we will find out very soon. For the Mets, obviously, before the Mets leave Florida, they will have a decision on a very big prospect, and that's Carson Benge, and that's great news. Mets broadcasting legend Howie announced on Thursday that he's going to be retiring at the end of the 2026 season. The iconic voice of the New York Mets since really 1996, when he went on to Sports Channel and Fox Sports, and of course he eventually went on to the radio, originally at WFAN, now WCBS. He's been a broadcaster for many years, been covering the Mets since 1987, when he was the pre- and post-game guy, and we wish him well. He's a great broadcaster. Now, you let me know who and what your favorite play-by-play is of his. Is it the Mike Piazza home run, if the 9/11? Is it the home run that Pete Alonso hit against the Brewers in 2024? Leave that in the comments section. And, of course, please subscribe to Baseball Hut 3, and I'll see you later. Baseball legend Gary Carter played for the New York Mets from 1985 through 1989. In those 5 years, he appeared in 4 All-Star games, won 2 Silver Slugger Awards, had MVP votes in 2 of those 5 years. And 4 of those 5 years, the Mets won 92 games or more. In 85, they won 98. In 1986, they won 108 and the World Series. 1987, they won 92 games on a team that had an entire pitching staff injured at times. And in 1988, they won 100 games, which was the second most they ever won as a team. And that record held for many, many years up until 2022. Now, people are saying that he shouldn't be going and getting his number retired by the Mets because he only had 2 great seasons. The Mets had 4 great seasons of those years that he was the everyday catcher. He is a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer. He's one of the great catchers in the history of the game. The Mets have not issued that number since 2001. There's no reason not to put his iconic number on the rafters next to all the other great players. He is the 4th pillar and the final pillar of the 1986 Mets team. There were 4 great players in that team: Keith Hernandez, Darryl Strawberry, Dwight Gooden, and Gary Carter. He's the only one in the Hall of Fame in Major League Baseball in Cooperstown. So there's no reason for him not to have his number retired. The years that he was here were impactful. Not only that, the family wants that number retired. Not only that, but when Gary went into the Hall of Fame, he said he wanted to go in as a New York Met because he felt more closer to the New York Met fans than anything else. Hi everybody, this is Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut 3, and hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. A couple things before we get into this video. Need you to hit that subscribe button. We're going to want to get to 1,000 subscribers. That's all that's keeping this channel completely monetized. We got 4,000 hours, and we got 500 subs. We need another 400 something subs. So many people watch the videos that are new. Hit the subscribe button. It's very important. And this channel, I've created this channel as a backup for when we have the lockout next year. So this is money that comes into the hut. I need you to sub to it and help your host out. And this is backup in case shit happens. But anyway, Michael Not Okay, ESPN radio guy and the Yes Network play-by-play guy. He's a curmudgeon of the major order, and really, this is why he's not okay. I would mention, I saw this picture of him, I guess, the other day. He looks a little yellow. I hope he's okay. But honestly, he wasn't all too wrapped up about the World Baseball Classic. And I think part of it is because of horse race. I mean, Aaron Judge performed poorly again. And made a fool of himself. It was a bit of a negative Nelly. They said a lot of negativity surrounding this particular USA team, from what I've heard. It didn't seem like they were having a lot of fun. And if it's not any fun coming from the top, from the captain, quote unquote, there's not gonna be a lot of fun from anybody else. But here's awful announcing. Michael K., I don't like wrapping sports in a flag and preaching patriotism. What a jerk. Now, I didn't really watch too many of the games, but I watched the last game, and I watched some, the games that were on the last few days before this. I thought when the players went out for both teams, for Venezuela and for the American team, you could see that was high energy, and that's something that baseball needs on a regular basis. To be able to bring the players out like that is terrific. You don't represent me because you have USA on the chest. But it took about a Debbie Downer. Michael Not Okay may have been rooting for the Team USA in the World Baseball Classic, but it's not because he sought to prove the U.S. was bigger and better than every other country. Part of what makes the World Baseball Classic and any international sporting event great is its ability to unite fans and lean into inherent rooting interests. But rooting for your country in a sporting event is still different than comparing it to battle, which is why Kay didn't understand Team USA manager Mark DeRosa bringing in former Navy SEAL Robert J. O'Neill to give the American players a motivational speech. This DeRosa boy, if there was a loser during this whole thing, it was him. Because this was a guy that tried to become a manager with the New York Mets. He got an interview with the Mets a few years ago. This guy is a buffoon. They lose the one game, and he didn't tell the players that we could go home. And they got kind of lucky, to be honest with you. But DeRosa has looked like a buffoon. Now, if you don't know who Robert O'Neill is, he's the guy that killed Osama bin Laden. He's the kill shot. Okay? And, but there's nothing wrong with bringing in people to have motivational speech. But why Robert O'Neill? Seems kind of a random person. It seems very strange. And in the wake of Team USA losing the WBC final to Venezuela, Kay was joined by the Lilliputian Mike Lupiga. He is short. He might be just as short as Ken Rosenthal. On his Wednesday afternoon ESPN radio show in New York, and the New York Yankees TV voice said some of the force-fed patriotism around the competition made him uneasy. Now, here's the thing about Mike Lupica. He is anti-American. A deranged, anti-American loser. I mean, really. I known him from listening to Imus in the morning, and he's a backstabber. We know that Imus forgave him at the end, but he did not back up Imus, especially when he was supporting him for 25, 30 years as his friend and as somebody that put him on his show all the time. So he's a snake. Quote, I don't like rapping sports and a flag and preaching patriotism and bringing SEALs Team 6 people. Not okay explained. The only uniform that counts to me is the one that's worn by the men and women of our military. They decide wins and losses. You don't represent me because you have USA in the chest. I don't believe it. What a Debbie Downer. What a pain in the ass. No wonder why Peter Rosenberg and Don LaGreca hate him so much. Kay shared a similar sentiment earlier this week after the Yankees captain Aaron Judge claimed the World Baseball Classic was bigger and better than the World Series. While Kay can appreciate players buying into this event, doesn't believe it should be rooted in any sort of my country's better than yours emotion. I don't think it was like that at all. I don't think that was like that at all. There are people that represent the United States, that really represent the United States, and you know who those people are. The men and women of the military. They decide the greatness of this country, their sheer bravery, how they fight for freedom and throw their lives on the line. That is significant to me. The United States winning the gold medal against Canada, wonderful, thrill for them, not a referendum on my country. It's just not. My God, lighten up, dude, lighten up. Aren't we getting a little bit nonsensical with this jingoistic stuff? Not okay asked. Mark DeRosa brought in one of the Navy SEAL guys that was part of the group that killed Osama bin Laden, okay? Whatever gets the people motivated. But to equate a baseball game to that, I don't know. It's a strange guy to come in there. Okay? It's a strange guy to have come in. Man, you should have gotten Trump to come in. You know. But, you know, like I said, DeRosa's the real loser of all this. He did not make himself look well. Did not make himself look good at all. He was kind of overwhelmed. Athletes should be proud to represent their country during international competition, and many of the Team USA players were vocal about their pride. But wearing USA on your chest doesn't change the fact that it's still a sporting event. Oh, no kidding. No kidding, asshole. My God. Lighten up. Lighten up. And again, we've talked about him infinitum here on this channel and on the other channel. He's just he's not okay. There's any nickname that's pretty accurate to a person and to a subject and to a target. I mean, a subject is Michael not okay. He's just not okay. You're okay, but I'm okay. You're okay, but Michael, he ain't okay. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. Of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut 3. Very important. I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2. And hopefully you like this video. And hit that subscribe button. One of the things I love is when we see Yankees on Yankee crime. Yankee on Yankee crime. And that's what we got here. We got a criminal offense. But an amusing one. It's really Derek Jeter going after horseface. I mean, Aaron Judge. And his take on the World Baseball Classic. I knew that the American team was going to lose because Aaron Judge was on that team. He is a loser. He may be making a lot of money, but when it comes to the big games, he is a loser. A guy that wasn't losing these big games was Derek Jeter. And he had something there that interesting to say about Aaron Judge's take on the World Baseball Classic. Now, the World Baseball Classic on Tuesday was quite the spectacle. It was nice to see the players come out. I would like to have seen Aaron Judge hold that American flag up a little bit higher instead of it draped and hanging off the shoulder. You got to hold that flag up high. You can't be, dragging it on your back. That doesn't look good. That's not a good look. It's just not. But this is from Awful Announcing. Derek Jeter objects to Aaron Judge calling WBC bigger than the World Series. The people that said it's bigger than the World Series never played in the World Series. Well, I would mention, Aaron Judge has played in the World Series, and he's been bad in the World Series. The media and the New York fans, the Yankee fans, have been destroying Horseface. They've been beating him worse than a red-headed mule, quite frankly. Aaron Judge might tell himself the World Baseball Classic is bigger than the World Series. But from one New York Yankees captain to another, Derek Jeter knows it's not true. Prior to Team USA losing to Venezuela in the 2026 World Baseball Classic, Judge claimed the event was bigger and better than the World Series. Sentiment Yankee fans who maintain championship or bust aspirations were bothered by. I would mention, Mets Juan Soto also said that. But he also did not mention that the Mets season last year was very, very pleasant. He did say playing the World Series was very good. And he's played in 2 World Series. During Tuesday night's WBC final pregame show on Fox, Alex Rodriguez noted players have been calling the event bigger than the World Series. And when the jinx, Kevin Burkhardt, and he's a jinx because whenever the Mets are on the field, the Mets lose. I knew the Mets were going to lose the World Series in 2015 because he was doing the broadcast, the pre- and post-game broadcast. That's how I knew the Mets were going to lose. And when Kevin Burkhardt asked Derek Jeter to weigh in, the 5-time World Series champion scoffed at the notion. And they say, why are you going after Kevin Burkhardt? He was the Mets sideline reporter from 2007 to 2014. They collapsed. They didn't make one appearance in the postseason. He leaves in 2015 and they go to the World Series. And then when they got to the World Series, he was there doing the pregame and the Mets lost. I knew right there they were going to lose. But I think the people that said it's bigger than a World Series never played in a World Series. You just said while clearly knowing the headlines Judge recently made. Well, Derek's very aware of this stuff. Judge has played in a World Series. He hasn't won one. Jeter won 5 and played in 2 World Baseball Classics. Although the event is undoubtedly much bigger now than it was when he represented the U.S. in 2006 and 2009. I think it's a bigger event than it was 3 years ago, to be honest with you. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the country is much more patriotic than it's been. And the patriotism for both teams was on display last night. Especially with those introductions. Those introductions were spectacular. So one thing baseball does a wonderful job with, they really embrace that stuff. And the players on both sides coming out was spectacular. 2026 was the first time Judge traded his pinstripes for the Stars and Stripes as he captained Team USA to a loss in the WBC final. And maybe the WBC has closed the gap with the World Series in terms of popularity and attention. But even if the event is bigger than the World Series, the actual championship won't be. No. What did these players get? They got some medals. You see Carl Schwarber, he basically, I guess he drew, he took his medal and just took off, went to the dugout. People, and they get a silver medal. Cool, people are always trying to compare what's bigger, Jeter continued. It's completely different. When you retire, people ask how many championships did you win for a reason. Playing the World Series, going through a 162-game schedule, plus the postseason is difficult to do. It doesn't take anything away from the WBC. It's an absolute honor. I've done it a couple of times. It's an honor to wear the USA across your chest. How this tournament has grown over the last 20 years has been impressive. And this really unites fans. This is huge. I was surprised at how big this was this time around. Just looking at the actual, like I said, the actual spectacle and the playing of the different national anthems. I love the musical version of the national anthem. Because I think the way they played it last night, so beautiful the way they played it. Sometimes when these people, they sing it, it doesn't sound the same. But when you play music, it's just beautiful. Judge is already heading to Cooperstown when he decides to stop playing. His number will be retired and he'll have to have a plaque in Monument Park. But if he ever wins the WBC, it'll be a footnote on his legacy. He wins the World Series with the Yankees. That sits at the top of his bio. As much as his legacy might already be cemented as an all-time great, Judge will be remembered very differently as a Yankee with a ring than without one. Jeter can try telling that to Judge, but it will probably take winning the World Series for him to realize how important it is. That's why he said that, because he hasn't won one. If he won one, it'd be a totally different story. Aaron Judge, by the way, in the final game against Venezuela, went 0 for 4. 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. So he had it. This is kind of what he's done during the season. This is the kind of stuff that he has done, folks. This is the stuff that he has done in his career. Doesn't show up. And this is why a lot of fans are very upset with him on Wednesday. Because he made the comment and then he played poorly again. Played terrible again. You know. It's very difficult to lead a horse to... It's not bad. It's easy to lead a horse to water. But it's not good to get him to drink from the cup of a champion. And that's what we've learned about Judge. You be the judge, Dad. I'll be the judge, Dad. He's a loser. He's a loser. Until he wins. Now, people were mentioning on WFAN on Wednesday, comparing him to Don Mattingly. When Don Mattingly had a chance to be in the postseason, he killed it. He was hitting like crazy against the Mariners. If you watch that series, they didn't lose that series because Don Mattingly didn't hit. Don Mattingly put all his eggs in one basket, and he hit for the Yankees in that series against the Mariners. And he played well down the stretch to get them to postseason. That was his last shot to get the postseason. He made sure that they got there. Aaron Judge, he's a great regular season player. Now he's getting up there in age, 33, 34 years old. How many more years does he have? At some point, they're going to put him out the pasture. He's going to put himself... Well, the pitchers will put him out the pasture. With 170 strikeouts every year that he has. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. And, of course, what do you think about Derek Jeter? Was he right to say that? I think he is. I'm not his biggest fan. I'm not his fan at all, but he's right. World Series is more important than this. Because you spend like 162 games and spring training as well. And you just with these guys for 10 days. It's not that important. Well, thank you for watching this video. And, of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut 2. I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, the Hut, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut. And hope you like this video. And hit that subscribe button. We're a little 8 days away, Gary Carter days away from opening day. I don't know if I'm going to Citi Field. I would mention I was hoping to go. But you just hit the subscribe button. Send me a super thanks. I want to get myself, well, we'll get to that. But, you know, the one thing that we've learned about the Mets this spring training is the guys that are going to make this team. I think there's probably, not 100%, but I would say that Carson Benge is going to make this team on March 26th. I don't see how he's not going to make the team. Unless something crazy happens between now and the next 8 days, he's going to make this team. He has shown the ability to play the outfield, has shown the ability of getting on base. The most impressive thing about him that I've seen is that he hits the ball to left field. That means it has the ability to cover the entire plate. That tells me everything I need to know of him as a hitter, even though we're in spring training and it doesn't really matter. We'll see what happens when the season starts, obviously, but that's one of the things that we've learned. We've also learned about other players that the Mets had in spring training in the games, particularly A.J. Ewing. I believe that he could be a very impactful player sometime this year. He has also shown the ability to hit the ball to left field as he's a left-handed hitter. The ability to hit the ball to the opposite field, especially for a left-handed hitter, is very important because that means they can cover the whole plate and have the ability to hit a left-hander. That means he can play every day. He has, and from what I've seen, if he has the ability to hit the ball to left center field for power, and he has the ability for doubles power, triples power, and the ball going over the ballpark, he could be like a mini P. Crow Armstrong. Just based on some of the things I've read, that he's very strong defensively as well. Those are the two players I've been very impressed with this spring training. Now, we're going to talk about a prospect here, and that's Ronnie Mauricio. What is going on here with this particular player? I've not heard much about where he stands. I don't know if he's going to make this team. He's probably the Mets' best backup shortstop that they have. He is an excellent defensive player, but this bat is very shaky. Not that he doesn't have the power. He's got tremendous power. But what kind of offensive player is he going to be? Let me read you from Rising Apple. They have some thoughts on this. Top 100 prospect list from 4 years ago offers New York Mets no Ronnie Mauricio conclusion. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here, to be honest with you. MLB Pipeline's top 100 prospects from 2022 is ancient history enough to start to wonder who got things wrong, who got them right. Bobby Witt Jr. at number 1 is as accurate as it gets. Joe Ryan at 97 is at the service. How about the New York Mets on the list? We're still kind of waiting. That is true. It's very true. Let me get into this. It's a little different than what I thought. Francisco Alvarez continues to try to prove himself. Brett Baty's coming off of his best year, but can he do it again? Question attached. Now, Alvarez is still a young player. Baty has to do it this year. Baty's 26, 20. He has to do it. He has to come through. That's the one player on the Mets he has to break through. Brett Baty has to make that next step in his career. He's got to be able to hit 25 home runs, driving at least 90 runs batted in. He has to take that step. If he doesn't, he's a bust. Francisco Alvarez, the defense is a major issue because I was not happy with his defense in one of the games this past week. And Alvarez was a number 1 prospect, by the way. Then there's Ronnie Mauricio, ranked 78th overall. He's 2 spots behind Elly De La Cruz and trails Vidal Brujan by a single spot. Which one is he going to be? Ronnie Mauricio still seems capable of being the next Elly De La Cruz or another Vidal Brujan. Exciting, flashy, one of the league's best young players, De La Cruz, lived up to more than the bill in 2022. He debuted a year later and has been progressively getting better for the Reds. Is he flawed? Yes. Does he change games? Absolutely. He'll play this coming year at 24 years old. He is going to be an MVP-type candidate. I'm surprised he didn't get more votes, if he got any votes. Brujan was a Tampa Bay Rays prospect in 22. With limited big league experience, he turned 28 in February and is now a veteran utility man with a lifetime 199 batting average. And he's with the Mets. He might make the team, by the way. The contrast between him and De La Cruz is massive. If you're unsure about what Mauricio becomes, you may feel there's a chance, as good of a chance, he's similar to Brujan with some different skill sets. This coming season is huge for Mauricio as it'll be both his age 25 campaign and last year of a minor league option. Okay? Assuming it gets used at some point. The lost 2024 campaign due to his off-season ACL injury put a stop sign on his development. Last year was a get healthy season, and right now the only path toward Major League playing time will come as an injury replacement. But he has to play well. He has to hit. The defense will be there. So one thing about players that play good defense, the defense is always there. But he has to hit. He has to be a guy, and he has to be able to hit the right-handed. Very important. That has been an issue. Glimmers of hope shown through 292 big league plate appearances. The Mets haven't committed to a single position or even a role for him. Their base seems to be the priority at this point. If he masters fielding position, there's a matter of addressing how he hits from the right side of the plate. The prospect lists don't take long to get outdated. What has seemed to take forever is the permanent arrival of Mauricio to the major leagues as a regular contributor. The next De La Cruz, another Brujan, or somewhere in between. We should have something more conclusive this year. This will be it. This is it. There are 3 players that were big prospects with the Mets. Possibly 4. We're going to get, a conclusion on. We're going to get a conclusion and a verdict on Mauricio. We're going to get a verdict on Brett Baty. Brett Baty's going to be 27 years old. Okay, he was 19 when the Mets drafted him. That's 7 years later. So he's going to be 26, 27. Mark Vientos. He's been with the Mets organization for 9 years. Okay, he's been in the major leagues 4 years. We have to know what he is now. Okay, and of course, Francisco Alvarez. He's still young, but have to kick it in gear. I know the numbers look good on the surface, but he was sent to the minors for a reason. And even though he hit home runs and stuff, drove in runs, I don't feel that his at-bats last year in the second half were as impactful as they should have been. But back to Mauricio. He has tremendous power. Okay? He hits the ball extremely hard. But the problem is with Bronny is that there's inconsistencies with the swing. There's inconsistencies with the approach. Is he uber aggressive? Does he scale it back? He's a very difficult player to get a handle on because his abilities are based on him being very aggressive. And when you're very aggressive, it's very difficult to hold that player back and down, but then at the same time, that hurts him. So if he's swinging like crazy, these pitchers at the major league level are going to take advantage of that. So the Mets have issues here They have to figure out what kind of player is Ryan Mauricio. I don't know what kind of player he is. Like I said several times in this video, he's an excellent defensive player. You can play him at shortstop, he's very strong. Third base, he's strong. Second base, he's excellent. That is not the issue. It's that bat. How consistent is that swing going to be in the major league level? The power is there when he makes contact, but he swings at everything. You know, that is really the major issue with him. Now, please, of course, hit the subscribe button for the Baseball Hut. Send me super thanks. Please become members of the channel. Check out my products. I have plenty of products here. And, of course, thank you for watching the Baseball Hut, and I'll see you later.